Good afternoon. Glad you can make it to the hangout.
Yeah, me too. It's so great to actually see you again. How have you been doing lately?
I've been doing really well. I really appreciate how much we talk online, but I also really like that in-person hangout. It lets me, give you a hug and see your facial expressions, and there's just so much additional nuance that typing just can't provide.
Yeah, I would agree. I really like our Facebook conversations. I don't want you to think that I hate them or anything along those lines. That it's really just that seeing you in person really adds a lot?
Yeah, agreed. So are you okay with going to Burger King?
That's fine by me. It's close enough.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so what's been going on with you lately?
Lately, I've just been not doing a whole lot of stuff. Really talking to you has been sort of the highlight of my week. I really like how you give long and detailed responses because lately it seems like everyone that I talk to is all about like tersely responding, and you go in depth about everything I want to ask you, and I really admire that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I admire that about you too. That you're not just gonna say, "Oh, I'm doing fine," and actually elaborate on what you're actually feeling. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's great. Say, there was something I've been meaning to ask you for quite a while.
All right, what's up?
Do you really want this to be just a hangout?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I've been trying to say in my messages that maybe there's a bit more to our relationship.
More to our relationship? We're not exactly in a relationship, are we?
You mean you haven't been noticing?
Notice? Oh, that kind of noticing. I mean, to a certain extent, I've possibly picked up on the fact that, you did want to hang out. This was your idea. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there were any undertones. I mean, I've had girls want to hang out before, and it hasn't really changed that much.
Yeah, but didn't you get the deeper things of what I was trying to say?
Well, I thought maybe it was possible, but there was also this tiny part of me that thought, girls have never loved me before. They've always either wanted to be friends or hated my guts in the past, so I didn't think it was possible. And not only that, but while we were talking, we were online, so of course there wasn't an opportunity for pheromones to erupt from the body. So therefore, I didn't think logically that it was possible to form an emotional connection over just talking online.
You've never heard of online dating sites?
I don't really put much stock in those things because there's so much that could go wrong, and not being able to see each other in person means that trying to travel would be a heck of a nightmare.
But what about us? Like, I'm willing to drive far away from my current house to come see you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the fact that we're doing it now. But if we were to be in a relationship, you do realize that we'd have to really talk for a good long time about what our boundaries are, because you know what the statistics are about divorce rates.
Well, I don't think we would be divorced. I think you and I get along really well, and you're a really understanding person.
That may be, but you know what they say after the euphoria runs out.
Well, I haven't researched euphoria in depth, but okay, we can look at boundaries if that's what you want. So, first off, what are your boundaries? I want to know what is it that you want and don't want in a relationship.
Well, for starters, I obviously want it to be God's will. Like, I don't want to end up dating the total opposite of what would make him happy.
So, you don't trust that I'm the right person for you?
Well, no, it's not that I don't trust you. It's that I hadn't really thought about the possibility. This is a really new territory for me. I have no idea how to actually date. It's not like I looked up a rule book or anything like that to give me the specific details on what I'm supposed to do. But let's say, hypothetically, that that's what God wants me to do. First of all, one very important thing to me is that I have quite a lot of female friends, and it would really make me upset if I wasn't able to continue treating them like I've always treated them. So can you promise me that if you get jealous, you'll, stop getting jealous and let me hang out with them and not think that I'm cheating on you?
Well, I definitely have to think about that because I do consider myself kind of a clingy person. But I'm sure you wouldn't mean anything malicious by it.
Okay, that's a start. What about you? I don't want to dominate the conversation. So, is there something that you have boundaries on?
Well, I do have quite a lot of baggage from before, so would you be okay if I was, more emotional, more needing to unload stuff?
I think that would work. I mean, normally I'm the one that has a lot of emotional baggage, so I guess it would be possible because, in my past I've done things like Four Corners on mission trips, and that's been an opportunity to pray together with teenagers and help them out with their struggles. So I think if I'm not confined by the restrictions of not saying anything that would suggest the wrong thing. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you're talking about protecting God's children, right?
Yeah, exactly. So with you, obviously that restriction doesn't apply because you're over 18, so I can comfort you more appropriate to what your specific needs are as opposed to following a rule book.
Yeah, I guess that's a benefit that I hadn't thought about before. So, also don't talk about vomit.
Vomit?
I just don't really like the description of what it tastes like and what it looks.
Ugh.
Just thinking about it is kind of grossing me out. So, can you promise not to talk about vomit?
Yeah, that's totally fine. Um, Anything else?
Salmon. I don't like talking about salmon.
Alright, duly noted.
Alright, so what are some of your boundaries more? I feel like I know you pretty well, where I don't think you would trigger me all that much. And if you did, I'd probably just tell you.
Well, I already told you about the female friends. Divorce. If there's a possibility that we're to break up, can we have a backup plan to ensure that if we break up, we can still manage to be friends?
Well, obviously that hasn't happened yet, but if I had to guess, I would say that I would definitely like to be friends with you if we break up, but I don't think we will break up. I mean, I really love you quite a lot, and I'm really willing to make it work.
Like, I just see it as kind of arbitrary. Like, why invite all those people when they're just going to sit there? Like, it doesn't make sense to have a bunch of people that don't have an active role in what is needed for the marriage. And not only that, but like some people live together without being married. And they don't really need to change a whole lot besides going to the bank to make sure that their joint names are on the bank account. So why do we even need a marriage apart from me wanting to obey church teachings?
Well, I really like the symbolism behind it. Like, don't you just love the fact that you're joining together and all of your friends are witnessing this terrific moment in your life?
I mean, we could always just videotape it, but we're getting too ahead of ourselves. We haven't even gotten to the dating stage yet. So, what I think I'm going to do is I think I am going to half date you, meaning that I'm considering dating with you. Just as dating is a consideration of marriage, this is a consideration of dating. We can talk in further depth about what we want and what we don't want in relationships. Then I'm going to pray about whether or not you are the woman God wants me to date, as well as just figuring out how it's possible for you to have fallen in love with me without pheromones involved. So, do you think that's a reasonable compromise?
It's certainly different compared to other guys I've dated. Usually they have feelings for me and I have feelings for them, and since we were reciprocating it, we decided to go out with each other.
Well, I hadn't really thought about having feelings for you until now, because I guess you could say with feelings, there's such an abstract thing, so I would be thinking about if maybe I'm having butterflies or something along those lines, or maybe I'm nervous.
I certainly haven't met someone who treats feelings so manufactured before.
Oh, is that a problem?
No, not a problem. Just very different than what I'm used to. I've definitely been around the block with guys, and most of them are considerably more aware of what constitutes as romance.
Well, I hope you'll be patient with me as I sort out if this is actually meant to be. I mean, personally, I don't really think feelings are, or romantic feelings to be exact, are necessary for a date, because obviously feelings are meant to be representative of an eventual childbirth, and that's obviously not going to happen anytime soon. So instead, I'd want to rationally consider if we have the grounds to be able to make ends meet, financially speaking.
That's a bit more rational than I was expecting, but again, I can work with it. As long as I'm making you happy and we're a compatible couple, then I think it could work.
Okay, cool. So, how about we just call this a casual hangout for the rest of it, and then I'll think about it, and then if it turns out that we are meant to be, and I do believe that we are compatible enough, then I will schedule a Zoom call, and on that Zoom call, I will make it very specific about whether or not I will ask you out or say, no, it's not going to work.
Oh, okay. Um, I guess I'll respect your decision for the time being. Uh, okay, cool. I guess we can still keep hanging out.
Yeah, likewise. So, alright, well, thanks for giving me something new to think about, I suppose. Guess it'll get me to consider new possibilities. Yay.
I, I understand. I'll be as patient as you need, and make sure to ask me any questions that you want to.
Okay, thanks. Alright, well, let's continue the hangout.
Yep, sure thing.